Welcome to All Things Moore County, Moore County's weekly radio show highlighting the many facets of the Sandhills. That includes real estate, lifestyle, community and neighborhoods. And now from 4 Properties, here's your host, Bill Sahadi.
Good morning and welcome to the talk show, All Things Moore County. Now you can hear me, Dorothy, right?
Yes, I can. Sorry.
Oh, okay. School's back in session.
Yes, it's in full swing.
Football season starts this weekend.
It started last weekend.
Yeah, the preseason, but college football.
Oh, college football, yeah.
Our eyes are on fall and the autumn and pretty soon the holiday season. And we're going to have a lot of shows in September about events coming up.
Uh-huh.
And the reason we're going to front load them in September is because in October we're going to have a lot of political candidates.
Oh, yeah.
Come and speak on the show prior to Election Day, which is November the 6th.
It'll be on us before we know it.
I know. And today it seems like there is a amped up interest, even though these are considered what they call midterm elections. There's a lot of passion.
A lot of passion.
A lot of awareness. And an awful lot of news barking out of all the different mediums, social media, television. What we're going to do today is we're going to have a conversation with a lady, Judge Regina Joe, who is running for her 4th term as a district court judge, but now in the redrawn Judicial District 19D, which is more in Hoke County.
Aha.
Okay, so the reason she's coming on now and not in October is because you ever go to the ballot box and you look down the list of all the people that are running for things?
Uh-huh.
How come judges have to be on the same tablet with politicians? Shouldn't they just be a separate entity? Because they are a separate entity. It's not.
You'd think they would be.
Yeah, they're not out there trying to. These are real people who have served the judicial system, and we're going to be talking a lot about that today. But it all gets grouped together, and as well known as Regina Joe is in Hoke County, we're hoping to familiarize a lot of people with her today in Moore County, and that's what the redistricting has done in North Carolina. I don't think it's the only area that's been redrawn.
No, I think the whole state's affected in some way, shape, or form, isn't it?
And I think the whole country. I mean, there are different areas. So there are a lot of reasons for it. We might not get into that per se, but Regina, I want to say good morning and thank you so much for coming by to join us today.
Good morning, Bill. Thank you so much for having me.
Her voice is way better than mine. Dorothy,
I agree.
Oh my God. Yeah, I know. That was quick. I had been introduced to you by some friends of mine, some local attorneys that I have a lot of respect for. And I heard nothing but just stellar things about you. And in communicating with you in the last week or two and speaking with you, you just get a feel, and that's what I got talking to you.
Thank you.
Yes, and you have been. I just want to go through just a couple of things to familiarize people with you. You actually graduated high school in Charlotte in 1981, which makes me feel really old. You attended law school at Campbell Law School. Got your doctorate degree in 88. You started as an assistant district attorney in Greenville, and you prosecuted cases there from 89 to 91. You worked as an assistant district attorney servicing Hoke and Scotland counties, and that has changed now. Scotland is no longer.
That has changed historically for many years. Judicial District 16A was Hoke and Scotland counties. And as of the date of election, when we're going to the ballot boxes, the redistricting changes. Hoke is no longer in 16A.
Okay.
Hoke and Moore will be joined together as 19D.
Okay. To voters, does that mean a whole lot? Are they just is this just they just see a name on the ballot, and is it name recognition that gets? It's a challenge to make yourself known.
It's absolutely a challenge. I am finishing up at the end of this year 29 years of legal and judicial service to my communities. I've had the privilege of serving in 4 different counties while I was on the bench. I'm finishing up my 12th year, and that's in Hoke, Scotland, Richmond, and Anson counties. Mm-hmm. But if you don't know someone, you don't know someone. And I have been privileged and honored to be able to serve people and love what I do. And in order to be able to do that and to give the citizens of Moore County and Hoke County the best judicial and legal representation, there has to be name recognition and awareness. Mm-hmm. And so I am making every effort and invite everyone to learn about me. Mm-hmm. I can go on and on about my kudos and props, but because I've got skin in the game.
You sure do.
Yeah.
You sure do.
I'm sorry, anyone who is running has skin in the game. So the best thing that I can put out there and say is to ask different people, ask folks who are familiar in the judicial system, ask people who are familiar in Hoke and Scotland and Richmond and Anson counties, right, and learn and evaluate for yourself.
So what you're saying is you don't want to brag on yourself, so I will. In July of 2005, you were appointed by the Chief Resident Superior Court Judge B. Craig Ellis as a Chief Public Defender for both counties, making history by becoming the first black female Chief Public Defender in the history of the state. You ran for and you won your current position as District Court Judge in Judicial District 16A in 06. Again, you were making history as the first black and the first female judge in 16A. So some barriers along the way have been broken. You've specialized in juvenile certification, and you've served on the Board of Governors for the North Carolina Association of District Court Judges from 2009 to 2013. And you've served as president of the association?
That's correct. I was honored to be chosen by my peers of district court judges across the state in 2013 as the president of the North Carolina Association of District Court Judges. Your
resume is impressive. How do judges campaign?
Oh, goodness.
It's a different animal.
It is. And we have a different code of ethics that we have to follow that are different from other elected officials.
Right.
We have to be cognizant of cases that are ongoing. We have to be cognizant of certain rules that we have to follow that other candidates, non-judicial candidates, do not.
Right.
And there's a whole set of rules that addresses that.
The judicial system in the last year has become a very strong topic of the news media and social media, all from the top. And people are not seemingly trusting their institutions the way they used to, or they're questioning them. Do you find backlash in that area at all?
I do, Bill, and it's funny that you should mention that, because as we're sitting here and we're talking, one of the things that I'm big on is all about transparency. When I have folks that come into the courtroom, whether they are folks that know the law and know the procedures better than I do, or whether this is their first time and they've never had any dealings with the court system, I'm all about transparency and visibility. I want you to understand things just as we are understanding them.
Right.
I have what I refer to as our judicial family, and that's just the folks that are regularly in the court system, the bailiffs, the clerk, the attorneys. We know this ground. We play on it every day. Mm-hmm. I feel that I have a responsibility to ensure that the general public and people who are not as familiar with our procedures and policies have some degree of working knowledge while they're there, because it's all about their case.
There's so much about your background that has gotten you to where you are today. I mean, tell me a little bit about the inspiration and why you do what you do.
Bill, when you said that, I smiled because
you did.
It brought to mind my father.
Okay.
He's with Jesus now. But my father, years and years past, has always been the epitome of hard work, good ethics, honesty, integrity, and he instilled in all 5 of his girls, 5 girls.
Oh, wow.
That's what it was about. You have your reputation and you have your character.
Right.
Your reputation is what everybody thinks of you. Your character is what you are.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad made sure to instill in us, you always protect that character because your word is your bond. I move forward in everything that I'm doing when it comes to my work that I absolutely love is centered around that. Raising my child, I want the same life's lessons that my dad gave me. And my mom as well. I don't mean to exclude her,
right.
But my dad was really, with 5 girls, I mean, he really had us in an angle where, honesty and work ethic was very important.
Where are you in the pecking order?
I'm what they call the knee baby, the next to the youngest.
Yeah.
I had never heard that term until I came here. I was born and raised in Charlotte, but I'm next to the youngest.
And all your sisters are in and around the state? Right?
All of my sisters are in Charlotte.
Are
I'm
they
the
really?
only one that ventured farther away. Yes, sir.
Close family.
Yes, we're close.
You have exhibited a lot of leadership skills in the years that you have been working in the judicial system. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I have been privileged to be the chief public defender in 16A, and that included overseeing the legal and the administrative staff. And I'll even say, as a district court judge, you're the ringmaster in the courtroom. You set the pace.
And the tone.
You have, absolutely.
Right.
And you have the responsibility of juggling all of the various agencies that are in there and being cognizant of what law enforcement's responsibility is. They have to make to ensure the safety of the courtroom. I have to be aware of everybody's role and somehow ensure, that they mingle.
So one of your strong features would be a great peripheral vision, right?
Well, you'll have to ask someone else about that, but I would hope so.
You'd have to see the whole playing field all
That's
at one
right.
time.
Absolutely.
And in the air, there are also a lot of political considerations that you have to factor in, and put through the filter before you can speak or address.
Absolutely.
So don't ever get involved in a card game with you because you would probably bury me, right?
Well, I don't know about that.
You can see through things, but you have to have a sixth sense too.
Yes, and it's still a work in progress. I mean, just when you think you know everything, I think I have a solid and very good working knowledge, but something novel always comes up. Always.
Yeah. What did your dad do? You mentioned your father.
My dad worked at a plant in Charlotte, Westinghouse nuclear turbine plants, and he worked in and made pieces of material there for large air conditioning units and things of that nature. He did not get beyond the 5th grade, but he made sure that all 5 of his girls had the benefit of as much education as they wanted. My dad was my hero.
Right.
My dad is my hero.
Right.
And my position is anyone who did not get an opportunity to meet him missed out.
How long has he not been with us?
My dad, when I was in a PBAP program, performance-based program in law school, I lost my dad then.
So he was not witness to at least here on Earth. Okay.
He was not.
What would he say to you today?
I'm proud of you.
Right.
Just very simply, he was a man of very few words.
Right.
And when I first got my position, my very first position out of law school, it was in Greenville, North Carolina, as an assistant district attorney. And my mom and my dad, he was there, came and helped me out on the front end. And my mom ended up getting me my very first judicial robe in honor of my dad.
Oh. Okay. Family is very important to you.
Yes.
And you have a son that is 14?
Oh, my goodness. You have found my Achilles heel.
Is that right?
He's 14 and a half. He is just starting as a freshman at Hoke High with the mighty Marching Bucks,
Right.
who were nationally recognized by playing at Carnegie Hall.
Oh, right.
He is a trombonist, wears braces, is 6 feet tall, and I always say I don't know what I did right in life to deserve him.
Is that right?
A, B honor roll student. And has an awesome personality.
Wow. He hasn't rebelled yet?
Well,
A little bit?
yeah, he's just beginning to venture out and
Question.
learn himself. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And we're going to talk later in the show about some of the juvenile cases you have worked on over the years. And as a mom, it gives you even another level of awareness that you bring to the table.
Absolutely.
Let's come back in the second set. Our guest for the entire hour is Judge Regina Joe. She's running for the 4th term as District Court Judge in Judicial District 19D, which now is comprised of Hoke and Moore County. And we are going to continue to introduce you to Moore County as we continue the conversation. This is All Things Moore County. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the second set of All Things Moore County. Judge Regina Joe is our guest. Yes, she's running for the 4th term as District Court Judge in Judicial District 19D, which is in Moore and Hoke County. But as we're talking in the first set and more in the second set, people sometimes, I can't have a hard time equating judges with politicians, and you're not. But yet you have to campaign. You have to go out and you have to introduce yourself to people like a politician. But your demeanor and your grace, you're soft-spoken, you're not, people go on TV and they watch these reality judge show TVs. You're not like that. You're thoughtful. You're soft-spoken. Are you shy? Uncomfortable in this role?
Bill, I'm not shy.
Okay.
And I started laughing when you said that. I'm not really that soft-spoken.
You're not?
I think I'm just acclimating myself to the environment that I'm in now. But I could carry the soprano section in the choir.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So you know that expression, you speak softly and carry a big stick?
I try to do that.
Yeah, right. There are a couple of people that I know in town, a couple of attorneys that I work with. Some are mediators, and the ones that speak softly and carry a big stick are the ones that get heard the most clearly, I think. And I guess it's the same in the courtroom. But this is a rigorous schedule that you have in the next 6 to 8 weeks. I mean, you have to be out and about, and especially in Moore County.
It is. And then on top of that, continuing with the caliber of service that I don't expect any less from myself. I continue with that.
Right.
Mommyhood on top of that. But when you love what you do,
Right.
and I'm privileged to serve the communities that I do, it's not like a chore. It's something I want to do. It's something I enjoy, and I'm humbled and honored to serve folks in the capacity that I am. I'm glad that folks would even consider me.
I'm a big believer in people reinventing themselves and new beginnings and adding different layers of perspective to a career. And your career has spanned how long in the judicial system?
I'm finishing up my 29th year at the end of this year.
Wow. So, and this now becomes a new wrinkle, a new page in the book as you're transitionalizing now, not Hoke and Scotland, but Hoke and Moore.
Absolutely.
A few weeks ago, I think you had a get-together at the Mid-South Golf Club. And I wanted so badly to come, and I couldn't make it. Are there going to be other opportunities in the next couple of weeks for people to come and see you and talk with you and hear what you have to say?
Yes, there will be other opportunities for people to come and to see me and talk with me. And every opportunity that I get, I would like to be here in Moore County. Of course, I have to balance that with my obligations ongoing. Mm-hmm. And I welcome an opportunity if there's something that is going on and someone would like for me to be there. Mm-hmm. Shout out to me.
Mm-hmm. Being a woman in what maybe some people used to call the good old boy system, you probably had first row seats to that over the years. Is it changing?
I think that it's changing, and I think it is incumbent upon us as individuals to implement the change that you're looking for.
Yeah.
I'm always up for a challenge. And my dad, who is the backbone of my ethics and everything that I stand for mm-hmm. here on earth, wouldn't have it any other way.
Mm-hmm. Your credibility comes out in every word you speak. It's soft. And people make judgments. We all do in our, we can make snap judgments sometimes about people. And having the respect of the attorneys that you've worked with over the years, it speaks volumes. And it doesn't matter what side of the case it might fall on.
Absolutely.
Right?
That's right.
And to hear the comments that I've heard from some of the area attorneys about you, tells me that there's a real high degree of respect. But again, I can't equate what you're doing with the political season, and yet you're forced to jump on that November 6th bandwagon like everybody else, and I hope it doesn't get lost in the translation.
You're exactly right, Bill. Here's what grounds me. All I have to do, and all I continue to do, is to be myself. I can't be anybody else. Everyone else is taken. But if I'm me, and I've been me in this political or judicial realm, coming up on 29 years, 12 of which are closing out on the bench. After 12 years, that facade or that first impression, you only get an opportunity to do it one time. You make that first impression, and from there on, at some point, that mask is going to slip a little. It's been 12 years, and ever what you see now is me. So however I started versus how I am now, hopefully there's been a continuum of consistency mm-hmm. because I'm me. Mm-hmm. And I think everyone knows that. I recognize that law enforcement, other judges, attorneys, all have to be able to rely on the uniformity of what I do.
Right.
And that's what I try to do. I try to make sure that they understand that I'm going to be consistent and uniform about what I do. Fair. They may not like the rulings or the decisions that I give, mm-hmm. but they know that they have been heard, mm-hmm. and they understand that I've given it every consideration that I can.
Right.
And I think from there builds the respect when you're consistent about that.
Right. Right. Over time, you build up a reputation. You spoke a lot about your dad in the first set. If I had your son here, Chris? What do you call? It's
Christopher Isaiah Joe, and we call him Isaiah.
Okay. If I had Isaiah here, and I was talking with him, we heard you talk about your dad. What would he say about his mom?
Isaiah
Yeah.
would say that his mom, I would hope that he would say that his mom was a really good person. I have tried to instill him understanding, a good and hard work ethic, honesty, and I would, when he was smaller, was big on having him make eye contact with people, because I think that you can see what people are about when you're looking at them and talking with them.
Right.
So hopefully his ward has revolved around honesty and integrity, and those are basic elements.
Yeah.
I mean, those are basic building blocks.
Right.
And he knows. We started with Barney. Please and thank you. Yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am.
Yeah.
And it built from there.
Yeah.
I think that's what he would say.
Yeah, you get to be a great role model, and I can tell you, growing up at his age, I leaned more listening to my dad at that time, but as I got older, I started to see my mom in a different light, and some of the lessons that she taught me, they didn't kick in right away. They took years, but I would look back over my shoulder and look back and with a perspective and say, oh my gosh, she was right. The older I get, the more I become like my mom, which is very unusual, because most kids, they pattern after their dad. But you have, you get firsthand experience to do this with Isaiah.
I do.
And he with you.
I do. And not only that, but I'm going to share a bit of personal information.
Yeah.
My former husband and I co-parent with Isaiah effectively and beautifully.
Wow.
I'm very proud of this new family that we have. I'm not sure if it's so new anymore. It's been 3 or 4 years. But Isaiah recognizes that he is very much loved by mom and dad. And his father and I know that we are the basic examples when it comes to him.
Wow.
And the skills that he's going to take in going into life. So I think that his dad and I, if I can pat myself on the back, should be poster kids for how this should be done if we're not there.
So so glad you said that. We've had a lot of shows on mentoring. We've had a lot of shows through the school system for kids that don't have as much as some of the others, and troubled kids. You catch them in middle school as they go into high school, and kids have to make decisions, and they can take the wrong path or the right path, and so many times one of the common denominators seems to be a split or broken family. There's been some level of estrangement. You must see that all the time.
A lot of times, and that the judicial system has to take these cases as they come.
Yeah.
We have children from broken homes. We have children with families with substance abuse issues and all types of problems that we can't just say, okay, we are a court and we're going to do this sentence. You actually have to take into consideration all of the different factors on the patchwork quilt for this child's life.
Yeah. There's a young boy I met when he was 6 years old in Aberdeen with his dad. This goes back about 10, 12 years. He's in jail right now, 45 days. He dropped out of high school. He and his father and mother had not a good relationship, and it was separate. And he lived with his father, and his father had a few other kids, very dysfunctional, and he was sort of the forgotten kid.
Yeah.
And I saw him growing up, and I watched him, and I watched his mom trying to teach him manners and this and that. A good heart. And but you turn 16, 17, and all of a sudden you know everything. And he got involved in some drugs, and he crossed his violation, or he didn't do something proper in reporting back to the probation officer, and they put him in a detention center for 45 days. His mother lives out of state. She's heartbroken.
Wow.
He gets out in a week or two, and perhaps it might be the greatest life lesson he ever had, and it might get him back on the straight and narrow. But I look at the kids from a personal point of view, because I have the ability to do that, but you don't. You're sitting behind the table and you're listening one after, and
right.
but they all have a story, don't
That's
they?
right. That's right. And I wish I had the benefit of so much more time in taking into consideration all the factors with this child, but you do the absolute best that you can with the information that you have.
Right.
But we're talking about life's most precious gift, the children.
Yeah. We're going to come back in the third set. We're speaking the entire hour with Judge Regina Joe. She's running for the fourth term as district court judge in Judicial District, my mouth is dry, 19D in Moore and Hoke County. This is All Things Moore County. We'll be right back. Welcome back to All Things Moore County. In our final set, speaking with Judge Regina Joe, who is running for the fourth term as a district court judge in Judicial District 19D in Moore and Hoke County. We've covered a couple of personal things about family and inspiration and some of your background and your qualifications. And, you know, in our business, in the real estate business, we live and die sometimes by testimonials and referrals, and I'm fortunate to work with 13 very authentic people, and referral business is the best compliment that you can receive. You know, you see that on the back of a lot of business cards and this and that. So we have a feeling how we're judged. Excuse the pun, but
yes.
Okay, so
good, Bill.
we are, you know, we are judged by our clients, and I don't know how it works in the legal system, but there is something that is called the Judicial Performance Evaluation that comes out every how many years?
Before each election cycle. So for me,
Yeah.
I'm 2014 was my election cycle before this one, and now I'm up on 2018. So the last JPE, or Judicial Performance Evaluation, that was done on me, which are anonymous, a way of getting anonymous feedback
Right.
by the attorneys for the sitting judges or for a non-incumbent judicial person.
And there are some benchmarks that they use in judging.
Absolutely.
May I go through them?
Yes, please.
You're judged on a combination of things. Number one, integrity and impartiality. Mm-hmm. Is a judge fair to all persons? Does he base decisions on facts and law? And refrains from inappropriate communications, ex parte communications. The second category is legal ability. Does a judge demonstrate knowledge of law and the rules of procedure and evidence?
That's right.
The third, very important, professionalism. The judge exercises patience, is courteous to all and attentive to proceedings at hand, and fulfills out-of-court duties and responsibilities, and upholds the dignity of the office.
Absolutely.
Okay. I bet you scored high in that one. I'm just guessing. The fourth category is communication. The judge speaks clearly and understandably, prepares coherent decisions, and carefully reviews orders before entry.
Right.
Administrative skills. The judge is punctual and prepared, controls the courtroom appropriately, uses courtroom time efficiently, enforces deadlines, makes timely decisions, and enters orders promptly.
That's right.
And, of course, the sixth category is overall performance.
That's a catch-all.
So in 2014, you were assessed, so to speak.
I was assessed.
And it's on a point system?
It is on a point system, with 1 being poor and 5 being excellent, and 2, 3, 4 ranging between.
Okay, so we don't have a drum roll, but I would like to know. It's like getting a report card, isn't it?
It certainly is.
Okay, so I'm looking at your report card.
You have my report card.
I'm just going to go down here and I'll pretend I'm the teacher, okay?
Okay.
Integrity, no, I'll be the parent, you'll be the child. Integrity and impartiality, 4.6. Legal ability, 4.5. Professionalism, 4.7. Communication, 4.58. Administrative skills, 4.59. Overall performance, 4.59. It's pretty good.
Thank you.
And I see the number of responses, 75 or so.
Correct. And it's important to note this was in 2014 in what they call phase 1. And also, Bill, let me back up. The results for the judicial candidates for this year will be released by October 1st, and they will be available on the website electncjudges.org. So anybody will be able to go on after that, and this is for the benefit of the judges to know how their peers are viewing them and assessing them, as well as raising voter awareness.
Right. It's almost like an Angie's List, so to speak, of judges. Doctors, you can review people, you can review physicians. Everybody is asking everyone else on social media these days.
Absolutely.
Need a referral. Whatever happened to the phone book? That's gone.
It's gone.
I mean, it's
a
history,
dinosaur.
right? The kids
Yes.
growing up today go, what was that?
Absolutely.
Just something to hit you on the backside with or sit on.
That's right.
To raise you up a little bit. So October 1st, people can reference this, and they can also go on Facebook, and you'll be making timely postings of things like this as you go along.
Correct. I encourage you to go on Facebook under Judge Regina Joe to be able to follow and make comments.
Okay. I had occasion to speak to a couple of friends of mine who are attorneys, and they were very kind to help me frame some questions that I'd like to ask you, and they are they come from people that know, and I'm just going to run through a couple of them and love to get your response.
Okay.
How you approach child custody cases?
Oh, that is a wide open question.
It sure is.
You have to approach child custody cases on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds like a canned term, but you really have to take into consideration what's brought to you. The information from mom, the information from dad, the children or the child, their circumstances. You have to take all of that into consideration. My view is this. I'm always I'm always about mom and dad handling the matter or settling it themselves if they're able to, because who knows their child better than them? Who knows their circumstances better than them? If I'm looking and I see that there is an impasse or this is a highly litigious case, then of course I have to step in as Solomon and do what I need to do. But there's nothing that I can do until I gather as much information as I can in reference to mom, dad, and the child.
Okay. Do you think that there's a most important type of case that a district judge hears?
Children.
Children
Are God's gifts. And we're charged with the responsibility of taking care of them and sheltering them and teaching them, protecting them. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about your approach with attorneys just in general?
My approach with attorneys is, I'm not sure exactly what you mean by the question, but I try to ensure that everyone knows, especially if it's an attorney that has never been in a courtroom in which I regularly preside, basic generalities that I deal with. I try to greet attorneys that I've never seen before to make them aware of some of our local rules and things that we go through. I try to make sure that everybody is fed out of the same spoon and that I'm being uniform in reference to how I approach cases.
Right. Is that a challenge?
No. It may be a challenge with them understanding, but it's not a challenge me being me.
Right.
And I'm the same all the time. So when you're that way and there's no pretense, you just stick to the same script.
Yeah. You were both a public defender and a prosecutor.
Yes.
And that's got to help you with a unique perspective as a judge, because you're from both sides of the table.
I was a prosecutor and a public defender, and I was in private practice for a period of time. One thing that it really, really helped me with is recognizing time management as it pertains to attorneys in private practice or with the public defender's office, as well as, caseloads with prosecutors and how to process those cases. So, yes, I've been fortunate to have a well-rounded view from all sides of the courtroom.
Yeah. One attorney asked me, he said, most cases a district court judge hears that the judge is also the jury. How do you approach that distinction?
Most cases that I hear, I'm the jury. So, and then there are some things you have to take into consideration, and then there's some things that you may preliminarily hear on the front end. You have to unring that bell, so to speak. I can't take into consideration certain things, and I have to be able to move on with that.
Yeah.
Being a judge and the jury,
yeah.
It's easier to do that rather than asking someone who may have heard something. You can't consider that.
Earlier in the show, we talked in the first set a little bit about the lack of confidence that people have these days in some of our institutions. The judicial system has been on the front page of our newspapers
Yes.
and social media, emanating from Washington.
Yes.
And it's numbing to say the least. And you've got people in authority questioning and setting a bad tone, and people just pick up what they hear. And why is it so important for the public to have confidence in the judicial system?
Because the judicial system is making basic, bare, fundamental decisions that impact folks' lives, folks' households, their families, the very structure and institution of what we call America.
Yeah.
There are so many different things that are going on now. My big thing is we have to have transparency and accountability. If we do that, if they have knowledge and they know what's going on, and we're transparent as an institution, we're less likely to draw the negativism that we're drawing now.
So we live in, two Americas. We have the haves and we have the have-nots.
Yeah.
We have tremendous income equality. And some people think the system is rigged, to borrow a very popular phrase being used a lot and bantered around. So trust is hard to come by.
Absolutely.
The little guy sort of gets the shaft, and the people at the other end of the spectrum, usually get to walk or plea bargain or whatever it is that they do. It doesn't seem like it's a level playing field, does it?
The only thing that the only one that I can account for is myself.
Right.
I hold myself, and it's funny you should say that, Bill, because among a few things that I brought was my oath of office.
Uh-huh.
And, it talks about Lady Justice being blind and administering punishment or administering a judgment without fear of reward or favoritism or anything like that. That's what I hold myself to. And if everyone held themselves individually to that, we would have a more uniform, just system. Mm-hmm. But it starts individual. It starts with the individual.
It's almost organic. You can only deal with one person at
That's
a time,
right.
one-on-one.
That's right.
You can't change the world in one fell swoop.
No.
You start from the center, and you kind of hopefully make that circle expand one-on-one, and you may try to make a difference.
And if I were one of these huge Hollywood stars or, a worldwide recognized figure or something like that, then perhaps that metamorphosis would be quicker and better. But I'm me. I'm Judge Joe in Moore and Hoke counties. And so to that extent, I will try to make a difference.
Yeah. There are a couple, I think. Let's see. You've addressed a lot about what the public needs to have confidence in the system. What happens? There's a lot of, in addition to confidence, what happens when a police officer has been assaulted? There's a lot of conversation about the public and about the police. How do you handle a case like that?
And that is a wide open question
Yes,
as well.
yes, it is.
I have no involvement until that matter comes before the court.
Yeah.
And once it is in the court, then I'm assuming when you say a police officer has been assaulted,
Yeah.
someone has been charged with assaulting a law enforcement officer.
Yeah.
The state has the responsibility of proving beyond a reasonable doubt that that has in fact occurred.
Yeah.
And if that burden is carried, then we go to the sentencing phase after guilt has been established. And once again, it's a case-by-case basis. Does this person have any prior record? Has this person had a history of violence before? Are there any mental health issues that need to be addressed? Was there physical offensive contact on a greater level between the law enforcement officer and the defendant? It's just so many things you have to take into consideration. And, the greater the greater the yeses, the more likely that you're looking toward that scale where there's an active sentence.
Sometimes we're talking about confidence in the system, and sometimes things that happen with the police and with the public also seems to hurt the confidence
That's right.
in the system.
Absolutely.
Right.
And it only takes a few.
Right. All right. And they get glorified and overbuilt. I know. November 6th is kind of right around the corner, and you have a very genteel presence, as I see, and it's not one where you're going to be going out and hosting 1,000 people, but you're going to try to be intimate and meet as many people as you can in Moore County so
Yes.
they can meet you.
Yes.
People can go to your Facebook page. You are working on a website, so you'll have more information. The judicial performance evaluation, which can be found on the electncjudges.org, is a great place for people to start if
Perfect.
they want to. Yeah. And if you have any final words you'd like to give us, would love to let you summarize and wrap up.
Thank you, Bill. And I'm going to be brief and just say, as I'm sure that everyone knows by now, I filed for re-election as a district court judge in what will soon be our newly formed District 19D, Moore and Hoke counties. Over the past several months, I've spoken to a lot of people about my candidacy. And I know that people are seeking dedication, they're seeking fairness, equality, and service with ethics and integrity. Every day, as trial judges, we are required to preside over cases where we not only apply the law, but we must also balance related issues like poverty, substance abuse,
Right.
alcoholism.
Right.
As a district court judge, Bill, I know the importance of treating everyone with dignity and with respect while upholding the law without compromising the fairness and sound judgment of that law.
Yeah.
So there's no substitute for hard work is what I would say, and there's no compromise for integrity and ethics. My platform has been and will continue to be dedication, equality, and fairness. Please learn about me, and ask for your vote on November 6th.
Thank you so much, Regina Joe. November 6th, she's running for the fourth term. Her fourth term as district court judge in Judicial District 19D in Moore and Hoke County. It's been a pleasure to talk to you on 3 or 4 different levels, by the way.
My pleasure.
Yeah, you're enchanting. You're beautifully spoken, and your sensitivity comes out. It's been a pleasure. Everybody have a great week. Thank you.